Look closely at the modern world, and you will notice something disturbing. We are living in the most comfortable era in human history. Food is instant. Information is instant. Pleasure is instant. Everything is easier than ever before. And yet, people have never been more fragile. A delayed flight ruins their entire day. A harsh word destroys their mood. A small loss feels like a personal tragedy. And suddenly, they collapse. They explode with anger. They drown in anxiety. They complain. They blame. They adopt the identity of a victim. And worst of all, they genuinely believe the world is against them. We are told that weakness is physical. Lack of strength, lack of money, lack of resources. But the Stoic philosophers saw something far more dangerous. Weakness is not physical. Weakness is psychological. It is a failure of the mind, a broken internal system. Because human suffering does not come from the outside world. It comes from within. A weak mind chases illusions. It tries to control the uncontrollable. And in doing so, it hands over its freedom to chaos. To understand weakness, you must first understand what the weak mind values. Marcus Aurelius dealt with difficult, ungrateful, unstable people every single day. He did not call them evil, he diagnosed them. He said their behavior comes from ignorance. Ignorance of what is truly good and what is truly bad. Every human being wants happiness. That part is universal. But most people make a fatal mistake. They believe happiness comes from external things: money, status, reputation, power, pleasure. And this belief poisons everything. Because the moment your happiness depends on something external, you become dependent. If your happiness depends on money, you fear losing it. If it depends on reputation, you fear criticism. If it depends on status, you fear failure. The weak mind attaches itself to fragile things and then wonders why it feels fragile. The Stoics saw these external things differently. They called them indifferent, not good, not bad, just tools. They can be used wisely or foolishly. The only true good is virtue, your character, your integrity, your ability to think clearly. A person with strong character cannot be harmed in what truly matters. But the weak mind does not understand this. It builds its identity on unstable ground, and then acts surprised when everything keeps collapsing. The second pillar of weakness is the illusion of control. Watch how people live. They try to control everything: the weather, the economy, traffic, other people, opinions, reputation. They fight reality itself, and reality never loses. So what happens? Frustration, anger, helplessness. This is where the Stoics drew a brutal line. Some things are within your control, and some things are not. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices, these belong to you. Everything else does not. The weak mind mixes these categories. It obsesses over what it cannot control and ignores what it can. It complains, blames, avoids responsibility. The strong mind does the opposite. It accepts reality and takes full responsibility for its response. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. And that is where your power begins. Another reason people remain weak is emotional slavery. Watch closely. An insult, and they explode. A challenge, and they panic. A temptation, and they give in instantly. The Stoics had a word for this: passions, not emotions, but uncontrolled impulses that override reason. Fear, anger, desire, anxiety. These are not just feelings. They are forces that control you if you let them. The philosopher Cleanthes described this perfectly. He said an undisciplined person is like a dog tied to a moving cart. The cart represents fate. Life moves forward, whether you like it or not. You have two options: walk alongside it or resist. But if you resist, you will be dragged by fear, dragged by anger, dragged by desire. And this is exactly how most people live. Not acting, reacting, not choosing, being pulled. Why does this happen? Because they believe every thought they have. Something happens, and instantly the mind says, "This is terrible. I've been harmed. My life is ruined." And they accept it without question. But Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never realize. External events cannot touch your mind. They have no access to it. They cannot create your judgments. Only you can do that. This means something very uncomfortable. Your suffering is created by your interpretation, not the event itself. The event is neutral. Your story creates the pain. And when you remove the story, something interesting happens. The suffering weakens. The Stoics trained this ability daily. They stripped events down to their raw form. An insult becomes sound. A loss becomes a change. A problem becomes a situation. No drama, no exaggeration, just reality. And when you see reality clearly, your mind becomes stable. And when your mind becomes stable, you become dangerous. But there is one more reason modern people are so weak. Comfort. We live in a world designed to remove discomfort. Everything is fast, easy, convenient, and this creates a hidden problem. The more comfort you depend on, the weaker you become, because now you need it, and the moment it disappears, you panic. This is why the Stoics did something unusual. They practiced discomfort, cold, hunger, simplicity, not to suffer, but to train, to prove something to themselves. I can survive without this, because once you know that, fear disappears. And when fear disappears, freedom begins. They also practiced something even more powerful: negative visualization. They imagined losing everything, not to become pessimistic, but to become grounded, grateful, prepared, because the weak mind clings to everything tightly and breaks when it loses it. The strong mind holds everything lightly, like sand. If it slips away, it does not collapse, it adapts. The psychology of weakness is not permanent. It is learned. It is a pattern, a set of habits, a way of thinking. And anything learned can be unlearned. You do not have to be dragged through life. You can cut the leash. You can build what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress inside your mind, a place where external chaos cannot enter. But this requires discipline. You must understand what you control and what you do not. You must question your thoughts. You must stop reacting automatically. And you must accept reality as it is. This is amor fati, the love of fate, not passive acceptance, but alignment with reality. Because the truth is simple. The world will always be unpredictable, unfair, chaotic, but your mind does not have to be. Reclaim control. Strip away illusion, and turn your mind from fragile glass into an unbreakable fortress. Master your mind, and you will never be weak again.
Look at the modern world carefully, and you will notice something strange. People are terrified of silence. Not bored, not uncomfortable, terrified. They cannot sit alone, they cannot be without noise, music in the shower, scrolling while eating, TV playing in the background, notifications every few seconds, always something, always noise, always distraction. Because the moment it stops, something else begins. Their thoughts, and that is what they are really running from. For most people, silence is not peaceful. It is loud, uncomfortably loud. Because in silence, everything they avoid finally speaks. Their fears, their regrets, their insecurities, the things they've been pushing down for years, and instead of facing it, they escape again and again and again. But the Stoics saw something completely different. To them, solitude was not loneliness. It was power. They believed something most people are afraid to admit. If you cannot sit alone with yourself, without distraction, without validation, without escape, you are not free. Most people think peace exists somewhere else, in a new city, on a beach, in the mountains. They tell themselves, if I just leave, I will feel better. But there is a problem. You take your mind with you. If your mind is chaotic, no place will fix it. You can sit on the quietest beach in the world and still feel restless, still overthink, still feel empty. Marcus Aurelius understood this perfectly. He said, constantly seeking escape is meaningless, because peace is not a location. It is a condition of the mind. You don't need to go somewhere else, you need to go inward. Right now, right here. Even 5 minutes of real silence that can change you. But when you try it, you will notice something immediately. The moment external noise stops, internal noise explodes, thoughts rush in. You are behind. You are not enough. You are wasting your life. And suddenly, silence feels unbearable. This is why people avoid it, because they have never trained their mind. They are not in control of it. They are at its mercy. To survive this, you need something the Stoics called the inner citadel, a mental fortress, a place inside you that chaos cannot enter. And the first step is simple, but brutal. You stop believing every thought you have. Every second, your mind generates impressions, thoughts, images, judgments. The weak mind accepts them instantly. I failed. I'm not enough. They hurt me. But here is the truth most people never realize. Your thoughts are not facts. They are suggestions, and you can reject them. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, external events cannot touch your mind. They cannot create your judgments. Only you can. This changes everything. Because now, you are no longer a victim of your thoughts. You are the observer. When a negative thought appears, you don't fight it. You don't run from it. You watch it, you analyze it, you strip away the emotion, and suddenly it loses power. Because it was never real. It was just a reaction. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not afraid of being alone. They are dependent. Dependent on noise, dependent on distraction, dependent on other people. They need validation, attention, approval. Without it, they feel empty. And that is not freedom. That is dependence. That is control. A person can travel the world, have money, be surrounded by people, and still be a prisoner because they cannot sit in silence. At the same time, a person can be completely alone and feel absolute freedom because their peace comes from within, not from people, not from circumstances, not from noise. When you learn to be alone, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop needing, you stop depending. And something powerful happens. You become stable, clear, grounded, you stop reacting automatically, you start choosing your responses, and that is control. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. Despite being surrounded by chaos, power, pressure, he made time to be alone, not to relax, not to escape, but to think, to write, to confront himself. His journal was not for the world, it was for him. A conversation with his own mind, a way to sharpen it. You can do the same. Start simple. 5 minutes, no phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your mind. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Good. That means you're finally facing reality. Sit with it. Observe. Don't escape. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What am I afraid to face? What thoughts control me? And slowly then you will start to see clearly. Not the version of you that you show the world, the real one. And this is where power begins. Because once you understand your mind, you can shape it. And once you can shape it, you are no longer controlled by it. Being alone is not weakness. It is a skill, a discipline, a form of training. It teaches you something most people never learn, that you are enough, that your peace does not depend on anything external, not people, not places, not noise. When you master solitude, you stop running, you stop escaping, you become your own sanctuary. And once you reach that point, you become dangerous, because nothing can disturb you anymore. No opinion, no rejection, no chaos. Because your stability does not come from the outside, it comes from within. Learn to be alone, and you will never feel lost again. Master your solitude, and you master your life.
How you start your morning is how you live your life. Not sometimes, not on productive days, every single day. Because the morning is not just the beginning of your schedule, it is the moment where control is decided. Before the world touches you, before noise enters your mind, before anything external interferes, there is a small window, a quiet moment. And in that moment, you are either in control or you lose it. Most people lose it immediately, before they even sit up, before they even think. Alarm, snooze, again, snooze, and already you are negotiating with weakness. You're telling yourself, just 5 more minutes. But it's never about 5 minutes. It's about control. Because the moment you delay what you said you would do, you train your mind to disobey you. And once your mind stops listening, everything becomes harder. Then comes the second mistake, the phone. You reach for it automatically. No awareness, no intention, just habit. Scrolling, messages, notifications, news, other people's lives, other people's opinions, other people's emotions, flooding into your mind before you even stand up, before you even think your own thoughts. And just like that, you've lost the day. Because now your mind is not yours anymore. It has been hijacked. The Stoics understood this long before smartphones existed. They understood something deeper. If you don't take control of your mind early, you will spend the rest of the day reacting, recovering, trying to catch up. But you never fully do, because you started from a position of weakness, and the rest of your day becomes damage control. But the Stoics did something radically different. They treated the morning like a battlefield, not dramatic, precise, strategic. They knew, win the morning, and the rest of the day bends in your favor. Lose the morning, and you spend the entire day chasing control you already gave away. So here are 10 Stoic principles that don't just improve your morning, they rebuild your mind from the ground up. First, wake up with awareness, not with noise, not with distraction, with reality. You woke up today, and that might sound normal, but it isn't. There are people who went to sleep last night and never woke up. That's not negative, that's real. So this day is not guaranteed. It is not owed to you. It is not something you deserve. It is something you have been given. And once you truly understand that, you stop treating time like it's infinite. You stop wasting it. You stop delaying your life. Because you realize something most people avoid. You are running out of time. Second, prepare for difficulty, not for comfort, not for a smooth day, for reality. Because reality is not built for your convenience. People will annoy you. Someone will disrespect you. Something will go wrong. Plans will fail. And if you expect everything to go your way, you will collapse at the first inconvenience. But if you expect resistance, you become stable. You become ready. Nothing surprises you. Nothing shocks you. Because you already knew it was coming. And this gives you something rare: emotional control. Third, define what you control. Because most people get this completely wrong. They try to control everything: the weather, traffic, other people, opinions, outcomes, reputation. But none of that belongs to you. The Stoics made it brutally simple. You control 2 things: your thoughts, your actions. That's it. Everything else is outside your authority. And when you finally accept this, something powerful happens. You stop wasting energy. You stop fighting reality. You stop trying to bend the world to your expectations. And your mind becomes quiet. Fourth, sit in silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you and your mind. And this is where things get uncomfortable, because most people cannot handle this, not because they're busy, because they're avoiding something, because silence removes all escape. And suddenly, you are left with yourself, your thoughts, your patterns, your truth. And for most people, that's overwhelming, But this is exactly why you must do it, because this is where awareness begins. Fifth, zoom out. Mentally step above your life, above your routine, above your problems, above everything. And look down. Look at your situation from distance, from perspective. And suddenly, everything changes. What felt overwhelming becomes small. What felt urgent becomes manageable. You realize something important. You are not the center of everything. And that's not depressing. That's liberating. Because it means you don't have to carry everything.
And suddenly, why everything changes. What felt overwhelming becomes small. What felt urgent becomes manageable. You realize something important. You are not the center of everything, and that's not depressing. That's liberating because it means you don't have to carry everything. Sixth, remove the drama. Every situation has two layers, the fact and your interpretation. The fact is simple, neutral, objective. The interpretation is emotional, exaggerated, distorted. And most people suffer not because of what happens, but because of the story they tell themselves about it. This ruined my day. This is unfair. This always happens to me. The Stoics removed the story. They stripped events down to reality. No exaggeration, no emotional inflation, just truth. And when you do this, your problems shrink, not because they disappear, but because you see them clearly. Seventh, decide who you are before the world decides for you. Because if you don't define yourself, you will be defined by circumstance, by mood, by other people. So ask yourself, who am I today? Calm, disciplined, focused, unshakable? Because identity is not something you discover. It is something you choose. And when you choose it early, you stop reacting. You start acting. Eighth, do something hard, immediately, not later, not when you feel ready. Now, cold exposure, workout, discomfort, not for aesthetics, not for results, for control. Because you prove something to yourself. I don't need motivation to act. I don't need to feel good to move. I decide and I execute. And once you understand that, you become dangerous, because now your actions are no longer controlled by emotion. Ninth, write, not just your tasks, your mind, your principles, your standards, your direction, because when you write, you think. When you don't, you drift. Marcus Aurelius didn't write for an audience. He wrote to correct himself, to challenge himself, to sharpen his thinking. And that's exactly what writing does. It forces clarity, and clarity creates control. 10th, remember this. You live among people every day, and every day you either contribute to order or to chaos. Even in small ways, you stay calm instead of reacting. You help instead of ignoring. You choose discipline instead of negativity. It sounds simple, but it compounds. And over time, it defines you. Now here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't need motivation. Motivation fades. You need structure. You need intention. You need discipline. Because the morning is the only time before the world takes over your mind. And if you give that time away, to your phone, to distraction, to noise, you lose before the day even begins. Take it back, protect your morning, build your routine, train your mind, and something powerful happens. You stop reacting, you start controlling, you stop drifting, you start directing your life. Because in the end, this is not about mornings. This is about identity. Discipline is not something you do, it is who you become. And every morning, you reinforce it, or you destroy it. Master your morning. And you don't just control your day, you control your direction, your actions, your mind, your life. If you cannot control how you start your day, you will never control how you live it. But if you can, nothing can stop you.